July the 4th is a holiday all Americans know and love. Today, I'll be telling the history of Independence Day, as well as significant events that took place on this very important holiday in under 10 minutes. When the American Revolution began, a very small amount of the colonists supported the idea of independence and were considered radicals. By the summer of 1776, that number increased exponentially. The Continental Congress eventually decided to vote on the subject on July the 2nd. The vote was nearly unanimous, with only the New York delegates abstaining from the vote until later when they supported this proposal. John Adams declared that July the 2nd would go down in history, but word of this measure did not reach fully to the colonists until July the 4th. With this new holiday, the colonists' yearly festivities changed. Before the Revolution, colonists had celebrated the King's birthday annually, but in 1776, they held mock funerals for King George III, signifying the end of the monarchy's rule in America. Its festivities for Independence Day in 1777 included concerts, parades, and the firing of muskets and cannons. In 1778, on July 4th, George Washington issued double rations of rum for his soldiers, commemorating the holiday. Furthermore, in 1781, Massachusetts became the first state to officially hold Independence Day as a state holiday. Now that we've gone over July the 4th history, let's move on towards significant events on that date. The date was July the 4th, 1826. Two men were on their deathbeds. These men were very important and had both served as presidents. These men were Thomas Jefferson and John Adams. Both of these men died on July the 4th, 1826. There have been several theories for why they both died on this day. One suggests it was merely a coincidence, the 1 in 365 chance. Others suggest that they both deliberately held on till that day so as to die on the 4th. And a very outlandish theory was that there was a conspiracy among the doctors of both men who kept them alive until the 4th and then let them die. This event is made even more curious by the fact that 5 years later, on the exact same day, James Monroe also died. Another significant event was the surrender of Vicksburg to Ulysses Grant. Vicksburg was the last fortress on the Mississippi, standing in Grant's way from cutting the Confederacy in half. The siege had gone on for nearly half a year until the Confederate General Pemberton surrendered to Grant. Vicksburg was so humiliated by this defeat that they didn't celebrate Independence Day for nearly 100 years after that day. Skipping back to the 18th century, in 1789, the first tariff was signed by George Washington. In 1802, West Point, the most prestigious military academy in the U.S., was opened. In 1810, in the events leading up to the Napoleonic Wars, Amsterdam and the rest of the Netherlands were occupied by the French. In 1817, the Erie Canal began construction. In 1827, slavery was abolished in New York. In 1828, the U.S.'s first passenger railway, the B&O Railway, began construction. In 1831, My Country 'Tis of Thee was first sung in Boston. In 1836, Wisconsin became a territory. In 1838, Iowa Territory is formed from a portion of Wisconsin Territory, lasting until 1846 when it became a state. In 1861, Abraham Lincoln requests 400,000 troops from Congress. In 1863, Robert E. Lee withdraws from Gettysburg. In 1876, the first exhibition of electric light is shown in San Francisco. In 1889, Washington State held its first constitutional convention. In 1892, Western Samoa changed its international dateline, making it have July 4th and 367 days that year. In 1894, the Republic of Hawaii was proclaimed. In 1898, during the Spanish-American War, the U.S. raises their flag over Wake Island. In In 1901, William Howard Taft is the first Governor General of the Philippines following the Spanish-American War. In 1902, Theodore Roosevelt offers amnesty to insurgents in the Philippines and creates a civil government there. In 1917, soldiers of the Russian provisional government opened fire on protesters. In 1918, the last Sultan of the Ottoman Empire ascends to the throne. Now, if you guys like this video, you should give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. If you didn't like this video, tell me why, and you can even leave a thumbs down if you prefer. Well, that's it today for History in Under 10 Minutes.